Good morning, beautiful being. It is wonderful to be with you here, inside, out of the rain. The rain is beautiful, and I just had to go for a walk. Even though I knew I'd be a bit late, it was kind of important to just go out into the world and experience it. And if you think I'm a little bit different today, I am. But I'm not going to tell you how, because it's not time. But those of you who are energetically sensitive, you'll feel it. I sure do. Today we have two rocks, and I'm going to enjoy them and show them to you and start the timer. Ha! That's funny. Together we have one of these and one of these, and this is for laser quartz, and singing quartz, which is what it is. It's quite large for a singing crystal. Listen to this. Makes a beautiful sound. Hi, Sharia. It's great to see you. Morning, Heather. I'm just enjoying this sound. Amy, good morning, beautiful being. The sound is really good for me today. Something pretty profound happened in my meditation this morning, and this actually helped me come back. So, singing quartz aside, let's have a good look at it. It is beautiful. So transparent. You can see there was another crystal growing here in the side of it. And there's really nothing missing. It's gorgeous. So, I'm happy to share that with you. And this is one of the very first quartz things, one of the very first crystals that I bought back in the day when Christopher's for Crystals was still in Cuba Street. Now, of course, everybody buys their rocks online, and the crystal shops have an interesting time of it. Good morning, Andrew. It is lovely to see you. So this one, well, there it is, and you can see it's got a plane running through it. And when you turn it round, it's got these little inclusions. Maybe they're hematite sparkles, I don't know. But I'm very fond of this. And look, you can see me in it, upside down. Ah, there's my ear. And that's just wrong. Anyway, good morning, Misty. It is lovely to see you. And those are our rocks for today. And I've got to remember that I started the clock late. So, it's like I'm in a whole new life today. I'm happy that you're silly. Silly is good. Jen, good morning. It is lovely to see you. Inside on a wet Wellington morning, it's good to be here. And yesterday, you see, you make comments and you spark conversations. Yesterday, a couple of you were conversing about the fact that, one of you is quitting smoking and the other one would love to do it. And it's a challenge. And you come right up against your brain and your body and your neurochemistry and all of the emotional habits that you have used that habit to suppress. Because don't we just use our habits to not deal with our other habits? Our fears, our anxieties, our sorrows, our whatever. If it's too hard, or more often, if you just don't know how, the common human normal response is to look for something outside of yourself to change the way you feel inside yourself. Have you heard me say that recently? Probably. And, it's very sensible and human. I mean, if I'm hungry, I need food. I can't magically make my hunger go away. If I'm thirsty, I need water. So we get accustomed to the idea that if I'm feeling something bad in here, that there must be something out there that can help me. And, and if you're feeling really bad in here, then you can become really dependent on something out there to take those bad feelings away. It's a human condition. I'm not beating up on anybody for having any kind of addiction. And I am not just talking about drugs, for heaven's sake, of any sort. I'm talking about emotional addiction, because don't you know people only use chemical things to deal with the fact that they have emotional addictions that they can't break out of. and the emotion's so painful, it's overwhelming, they have to do something. And is it illegal drugs or semi-legal drugs or prescription drugs or altered states of consciousness? That's my drug. It's all the same. We all have emotional addictions. The only question is whether they're good for you and how you handle them. And so today, that's very interesting. Time really has stopped. I swear, I started this thing. I must have stopped it. It stopped on its own. I'm in an interesting energetic state today, can't you tell? So now I really don't know what time it is, and you're probably all thinking, great, she doesn't know when she's going to stop. I'll know when we're done. So how do you deal with a bad habit? And when I say a bad habit, I mean a habit that you have said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be this anymore. I don't mean I'm saying whatever it is you're thinking about is bad. Remember, actually, there's no such thing as good or bad. The universe doesn't make judgments. It honours your choices and loves you for them, whatever they are. And that's a pretty big thought. If you want to look at the people around you who are making what you would say are shitty choices, and the universe still loves them and does your head in. But let's not go there today. Just dropping that in to create some waves and, rattle your dags mentally and emotionally. Oh, really? The universe loves them as much as it loves me? Yeah. And right about there, we all notice how much we have a habit of judgment. Can't help but have judgment, by the way. You're human. You're going to have preferences. Period. Don't sweat it. So, the thing that you have decided you want to change. We have to use words in these posts that get people's attention. Otherwise, nobody notices. So we talk about bad habits because most people think, oh, this is a bad habit, I want to change it. Actually, it's just a habit. So remove that label. It's something you want to change. You, as a sovereign human being, exercising your right to create something different in your life. That's what we're talking about. It's neither good nor bad. That's the first thing to do, is remove the judgment. Please. Humans so easily jump into polarity. First about themselves and very, very rapidly about everyone else. If you can step back from the whole good-bad thing, your life gets easier. Now, so you have a habit, good, bad, and different, that you wish to change. And remember, really everything is an emotional habit, because whatever you are doing, there is an emotional payoff, and that emotional payoff is represented in your body by neurons that fire in your brain and create neurotransmitters and make neuropeptides and give you hormones, and that emotional feeling thing is the payoff for your habit, whatever it is. Whether it's, hating yourself, feeling afraid, feeling depressed, judging your co-worker, hating your body, whatever it is, it's always got an emotional payoff, which comes in the form of thoughts and feelings, electrical charge, chemistry, and resonant electromagnetic charge out to the universe, which then lovingly has to endorse it. That's the habit you are changing. Be very clear. So, always the first step is to realise that you want to change it. And then after that, you have to decide. You have to have some kind of idea of how you wish to be instead. You have to. If you don't know, first you've got to realise where you are. Next you've got to know where you want to be. Because you're going on a journey, right? You're going on a journey. And the way that consciousness works in this planet of choice that is creating change in the whole of the galaxies, is that humans are at one point of consciousness, one state of being, one state of this is how my life is, and they want to be in another. And the journey between the two really is changing a habit. It doesn't matter what the habit is. fundamentally, you're changing a habit. Just think about that and you will realise it's actually true. You've got to become someone else to have the change in your life that you desire. So, 2 points of consciousness, here and there. And so, having some idea, even if it's a very small portion of what you hope that there might be, because you need some idea, but it can be very small, then you start to take steps towards that. Now, what kind of steps might those be? Well, they can be, I think that thought about myself over and over and over and over again. Oh, God, it's horrible. Or, in the practical case that we're talking about, I notice that at the time when my body starts to say it's time to have a cigarette, come on, get out of your chair, go outside, do what you do, it's time. And it starts to, make a noise because you conditioned it that way. Or it's time to find somebody to be angry at. Or, oh God, I haven't hated myself for the last 2 hours. I better find something about me, that I don't like. Because you make the step, you make the decision, you think, I'm here and I want to be there. Okay, I'm going to start making the steps. And you find some thought or some feeling or some behaviour that you want to change. Fundamentally, those are the things we can change. That's it. And so you start doing that. And then because you're going into a place that is neurologically and biologically and chemically and epigenetically and energetically and emotionally unknown to you, your body watching on and your brain is saying, hang on a minute, what? This is unfamiliar. And they start generating, the body particularly starts sending impulses up to the brain and, saying, oh, come on, now tomorrow's better. It's too hard today. You can't do it. It's too hard. You're too much like the person you want to, whatever. Your brain and your body will pummel you with excuses. And then right about then, you might have been walking along quite well for the last 2 hours or half a day or a week or whatever it is. But right about then, that is the stage at which you find yourself on your knees, slowed to a crawl, facing this apparently enormous decision. Oh my God, the craving is so strong. The old self is so strong. And oh yeah, that's right, that's why I started smoking. I wanted to fit in. Why did I want to fit in? Did I feel crappy about myself and I needed to belong or I needed to be... And and all of this analysis, which can be useful to a point, but don't get buried in it. But the emotions, the very emotions that prompted you to start that process, come up like a tsunami sometimes, especially at the beginning. They come up and they scream blue bloody murder at you. And they are trying to get you back into your normal, neurological, epigenetic, chemical, emotional, biological expression because it's known. And to stay in that place where the craving is screaming at you, and even just choosing to stay with the craving, okay, I'm going to really experience this craving. I'm going to allow myself to observe the experience of wanting to climb up the wall and crawl out of my skin. You've actually got to get present with it. Laura, Eric, it's great to see you. It's this, it's a deep, deep choice about which path you're going to take. And remember, there is no judgment when you fall off and go back to the unknown. Just, you made that choice. Okay, I'll endorse that with love. But then, again, you're there and you think, oh, shit, I want to be there. And so you try again. And, and it can feel absolutely like 3 steps forward and 4 steps back sometimes. But you got to realise that the choosing and the awareness and the choosing, the awareness comes first. You can't make a choice without the awareness. So the paying attention and noticing when you are flip-flopping is every bit as important as making the choice, right or wrong. Or rather, being aware And making a choice consciously, it doesn't matter which choice it is actually much more important than making the quote-unquote right choice. Why? Because you're in a place where the addiction is screaming at you, and you are consciously making a choice instead of unconsciously just giving in. And, experience in this body, when I was small, I used to pick my skin all the time, made holes in it and kept them going for weeks. Now, it was a stress thing. Nobody's fault. I understand that very well now. And it became a habit deeply ingrained. And it is still quite challenging for me to have something that, I've scratched myself and it's got a scab on it and the skin is healing underneath it and that's wonderful. Still quite challenging to not pull that off. I will often put something over it because it's the sensation of roughness that triggers the response. And it's powerful. Believe me, it's powerful because there's a lot of power behind it. And I remember a point many years ago now, I don't know, decade longer, don't know, don't care, when I realised that it didn't matter if I picked the scab for the umpteenth time. What matters was that I noticed I was having that, I need to do this, and then I made a conscious choice in either direction. And sometimes I would make a conscious choice not to, and then 20 seconds later I'd make a conscious choice to do it because I was just tired of the fight. But I made a conscious choice. And the exercising of the will, even if it's saying, yeah, okay, I'm doing it now. I am absolutely going to indulge this and do it and enjoy it. And what does that do? It removes the judgment. It removes the self-recrimination. Okay, I'm making a conscious choice. That's really important. In those days when you're just crawling or being pushed back by the torrent or the tsunami or the wind or whatever it is, to realize you have a choice and you can exercise it and there is no judgment about that. Because holding yourself in that space of, oh, well, I made that choice again, I failed, I'm never going to do this, all of this stuff comes up in you. But if you remain at choice and you say, okay, I made this conscious choice, to have compassion on myself, to say, it's really hard today. And I'm consciously choosing. I know it's going to, put my body back into the old chemistry. I understand that. I'm fully aware of the consequences of my actions. But, there's this delicate balance between sheer determination and compassionate care for yourself. And when you can't get away from yourself, it requires a lot of thought, a lot of presence. And I have many times not had that. But to really be present and think, what am I choosing now? You might have a whole stressful lot of stuff come up that you have to deal with, and it's really not a particularly good time to be in the throes of withdrawal. So recognize that. Make a conscious choice about how you're going to deal with it. Rather than just think, oh, well, I can't handle this. I'm obviously just going to lose all the ground I gained. No. Well, really? Being this person that you are now, and this applies to any habit, we're just using cigarettes as an example. Being the person that I am now, making conscious choices. I know I've got the stress coming up. How do I want to handle that? Am I going to say I can have a certain number each day? Am I going to say when on a scale of 1 to 10 I reach an 8, I'm going to give myself some relief and have one then? Make a conscious choice. That is the most important part about changing any habit, in my experience, in my opinion. Because it's a bumpy road. And, it's unrealistic and unfair and unloving to you to say, oh, well, I've made this choice, that's it, it's done. It really is done in your mind, but your body has to catch up with your mind, and the dance with the body can be really intense. Now, having just said that, my beloved husband, when we met 25 years ago, unbelievable, he was a smoker. He was an amazing man with a lot of healing to do, just like me. I had a lot of healing to do. He was a smoker, and a smoker was one thing I couldn't handle cigarette smoke. So we met. He moved in as my boarder. Long story short, very synchronous. We met through a mutual friend. And it just became very apparent very quickly that, connection, soulmate, tra-la-la. It was amazing. But he knew that I couldn't handle cigarette smoke and that also I didn't want to be with a smoker. Now, being the kind of man that he was, he stopped. He made a decision. But he had practiced a lot of things about mental will for much of his life, so he was prepared for that. He just made a decision and stopped. And he had cravings, I know he did, but he just dealt with them. So, there are people who make decisions and never look back. And, hat off. He loved me, right? Still does. But, those of us who are mere mortals, it can take us a bit longer. And there can be a real dance involved. And so this is my way to deal with breaking an addiction, to realise there's chemistry involved. And on the days when you feel like you can barely stand up because the howling gale of the addiction screaming at you is so strong, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm saying, you should decide how much you should give in. But to realise that on those days, you have to be really conscious and think about what's most loving to you. And I can't tell you what that is. But if you can just be present enough with yourself, or make a habit of being present with yourself, and sometimes it's so intense you can't keep up. Okay, I've had those days, and I have clients and friends who just have the days. It's like, okay, my body just wants to do that. Screw it, I'm going to let it do it for 10 minutes. It can do exactly what it wants for 10 minutes. Bugger it. You say, right, done. We're carrying on. Everybody's got to work out their way through this. But the key thing is, I think, being really conscious. Really. And thinking and feeling what's most loving to me. Because remember, the whole reason why you're addicted to whatever you're addicted. And by the way, the definition of an addiction that I learned from my inspiration, Dr. Joe Dispenza, is some feeling that you can't, or something, some action, some feeling, whatever, but ultimately there's always a feeling that you can't choose to stop. If you don't have a choice, if you can't say no, if you can't willingly stop doing it, you're addicted, period, to anything. So, emotional states, activities, whatever, something in you is keeping it going, and, it's easy to give in because it's hardwired and the biology is conditioned to it. And the process of breaking that can be very long and tortuous, unless you're superhuman like my husband. There are people like that who can just do things. And by the way, he played a mental game with himself. He said, I haven't quit. I've just taken a break. Taken a sabbatical. He was on a sabbatical for more than 20 years. I think he's finally decided that he's quit, but he had to play that game for a long time. Couldn't handle the idea of letting it go. Long sabbatical. Never smoked another cigarette. So there's so many ways of dealing with what we are addicted to. Me too. But the most important thing is moment to moment, and so it really can be totally moment to moment. What's most loving to me? Because whatever it was that pushed you into that addiction, you weren't feeling loved. Because if you felt loved, you wouldn't be feeling that crappy feeling and needing to do something to squash it down. So what's most loving to me? And some days that is just to admit, oh my God, I'm so weary. How can I support myself in this moment? Particularly when everything's full on, it's all over the place around you. What's most loving to me? 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 And the more you tune into that, and you practice tuning into that, that's a new habit. And the more you do that, and you see, here I am patting my heart, the more that becomes the new consciousness. Because ultimately, wherever it is you want to go, you want to feel good. You know what that is? It means feeling whole. It means feeling love somewhere inside of you. So what's most loving to me is a really good place to start when you're facing your own addictions and breaking them. And take the bad away from the habit. It's just a habit. and all you're doing is making a new one that serves you better. I reckon I'm about out of time. I don't really know. Big love, thank you for sharing with me. I will be back in 3.5 hours to update you on Sang-Marie, our beautiful Sang-Marie Gomez, what he's doing in the Gambia. And also, in other notices, if you look on my page, and I'll post it again in a little while, there is just a written post, I'll probably do a live about it tomorrow, about a meditation that it happened in September and here it is in October. It's pretty relevant for any great unknown that you have in your life, and particularly for those in the States who are facing a very big decision. So if you'd like to go and check that out, I will post it again. And I hope you enjoy it. Big love. See you soon. Bye-bye.